It started with a video that looked almost harmless until you looked closer. A young woman, her face painted like a crying clown, stares into the camera. Her eyes glisten, not with glitter, but with tears. The audio is soft, almost haunting, as she lip syncs a mournful line, "Why are you leaving?" For millions of her fans, it seemed like another creative post, but within days that video would become something else entirely, a final message that would send chills through an entire country. Flor Marian Izaguirre Pineda, known online simply as Marian Izaguirre, wasn't just another influencer, she was adored, envied and followed by millions. Her TikToks were playful, full of laughter and charm. But beneath that bright smile and curated perfection, something much darker was unfolding. Something that no filter, no trending sound, and no viral fame could hide. Because not long after that video, Marian disappeared. And when she was finally found, days later, the scene was something out of a nightmare. Alone in a silent hotel room miles away from home, her body barely clinging to life. What happened in those missing hours still feels like a puzzle made of secrets, contradictions, and dread. Before her name became a headline, Marian was a small-town girl from Uruapan, Michoacan. She grew up surrounded by family, with dreams far bigger than her hometown could hold. People remember her as cheerful, ambitious, and magnetic, the kind of person who could walk into a room and instantly draw everyone's attention. She loved music, boxing, and laughter, the kind of energy that made her followers feel like they knew her. But that familiarity was an illusion. Behind the viral videos and picture-perfect smiles, her life was starting to fracture in quiet, invisible ways. As her fame grew, whispers of tension began to surface. Those closest to her said she seemed off, more withdrawn, almost haunted. Then came that clown video, the one that everyone now looks back at with dread. Some fans thought it was art, others saw it as a cry for help. But nobody imagined it would become the final warning before tragedy struck. And when the truth finally surfaced, it was darker than anyone could have imagined. Because Marian Izaguirre's story wasn't just about a missing influencer, it was about what happens when fame, fear, and hidden pain collide in the most horrifying way possible. Before her story turned into a haunting mystery, Marian Izaguirre was a dreamer. Born in Uruapan, Michoacan, she grew up surrounded by the warmth of family and the hum of ordinary life. Streets filled with vendors, laughter echoing through small homes, and a constant sense that the world outside was waiting for her. She wasn't born into fame, she built it, piece by piece, out of raw creativity and relentless ambition. Even as a child, people said she had that spark, the kind of magnetic charm that could make anyone stop and listen. By her teenage years, Marian had already begun carving her path online. While others posted for fun, she treated every video like a performance. When she laughed, it felt genuine. When she spoke, her voice carried confidence beyond her years. Her TikTok account, once just another username lost in the algorithm, soon exploded. Her videos weren't just funny. They had energy, rhythm, and an authenticity that drew millions. By 2025, she had gained nearly 4 million followers, turning her into one of Mexico's rising social media stars. But her success wasn't just built on beauty or trends. Marian had a mind for storytelling. Her series, Super Agente Izaguirre, became a fan favourite. She played a quirky secret agent caught in absurd adventures, full of charm and humour. It was silly, creative and unforgettable. Fans adored it. Her confidence on screen made people feel like they knew her personally, as if she was their funny, fearless friend through the screen. She seemed unstoppable, an unstoppable girl from a quiet town who managed to make the internet fall in love with her. Yet behind that unstoppable energy was someone fighting her own private battles. Fame came fast, and with it came pressure, expectations, comparisons, and the slow creeping weight of trying to stay perfect. Marian wasn't just performing for the camera anymore, she was living for it. Then, in 2023, she tried something new: music. Her debut single, Boom Boom, was upbeat and bold, a reflection of her personality, but those who looked closely could already sense a subtle change. Her lyrics had undertones of loneliness and struggle, something her audience brushed off as creative expression. But now, in hindsight, those words seem almost prophetic, like a shadow creeping behind the spotlight. To the world, Marian was living the dream: young, beautiful, famous, adored. But in private, cracks were forming. Arguments with family members began surfacing, tension about her career, her choices, her independence. Those close to her said she wanted freedom, she wanted space to breathe. But the closer she got to achieving her dreams, the more trapped she seemed to feel. And then came the shift. Subtle at first, her videos started to change. The smile was still there, but her eyes told a different story. The once lively influencer seemed quieter, distant. Some fans noticed, commenting things like, "Are you okay?" or "You don't seem like yourself lately." No one knew that these were the final calm days before the storm that would change everything. Because behind all the laughter, the dance trends, and the flashing lights, Marian Izaguirre was fighting something far darker than anyone realised. It happened suddenly. No warning, no message, no clue. One moment, Marian Izaguirre was online, interacting with her millions of followers, and the next, her digital presence went completely dark. Her TikTok page, once alive with energy and laughter, fell into silence. For an influencer who thrived on constant connection, that kind of quiet wasn't just strange, it was terrifying. It was the evening of September 1, 2025, when everything changed. Reports later revealed that Marian had left her home in Urupan, a bustling town she had always loved, after a heated argument with her family. Her family waited for her to return, but the hours stretched into days. When they realised she wasn't coming back, panic set in. Police issued an Alerta Alba, Mexico's emergency system for missing women. Flyers with her photo spread like wildfire online. Influencers shared her face, fans begged for updates, and hashtags began trending. Everyone was searching for answers. The last confirmed sighting of Marian came from a witness who claimed to have seen her getting into a red Kia Rio near her neighbourhood. That detail, small as it was, became the centre of the investigation. Police searched highways, hotels, and parking lots across Michoacan, but for 5 long days, nothing surfaced. Meanwhile, online theories exploded. Some fans feared she had been abducted, others whispered about a possible breakdown. The now infamous clown video resurfaced, spreading across TikTok like wildfire. In that video, Marian's tear-streaked face, painted with white makeup and smeared lipstick, suddenly looked less like a joke and more like a farewell. Her haunting expression, paired with that line, "Why are you leaving?" seemed to carry a new, terrifying meaning. Her followers flooded the comments with desperate messages. "Please come back, Marian. We miss you. This can't be real." But the truth was, nobody knew where she was or if she was even alive. Then on the night of September 6th, the silence finally broke. Police discovered Marian's red Kia Rio parked outside a quiet hotel in Morella, nearly 2 hours from where she lived. Inside one of the rooms, they found her alive, but barely. She was unconscious, weak and unresponsive. The reports only described her as being in critical condition. Paramedics rushed her to the local women's hospital. No one could explain what had happened to her, how she had gotten there, or why she was in that state. The bright star who once lit up millions of screens, now fighting for her life in eerie silence. As the news spread, social media erupted once again, this time in shock and confusion. Fans demanded the truth, family members begged for privacy, and journalists tried to piece together the impossible timeline. 5 days missing. No phone, found barely alive. What happened in that time gap? No one could answer. Not the police, not her doctors, not even her closest friends. It was as if Marian Izaguirre had walked into the darkness and something had followed her out. The hotel was ordinary, just another quiet building tucked away in Morelia, its neon sign flickering against the night sky. Guests came and went without noticing anything strange. When authorities finally entered room 27, the air inside felt heavy, stagnant, untouched for days. The curtains were drawn tight, leaving the room in dim shadow. On the nightstand sat an unfinished bottle of water, a few personal items, and nothing else. And then, there she was. Marian Izaguirre, barely breathing. Her pulse was faint, her skin pale. The vibrant, smiling influencer who once danced and laughed before millions was now motionless, fragile, almost ghostly. Paramedics described her condition only as critical. Police said she appeared to have suffered from severe medical complications, though they never explained what kind. Every detail, every official statement seemed vague, almost as if parts of the truth were being carefully hidden. For investigators, the scene made no sense. If she had been there for days, who checked her in? Why hadn't anyone noticed her condition sooner? Why had she travelled to Morelia in the first place? The hotel's CCTV footage reportedly showed Marian entering the lobby alone. No one followed, no one suspicious appeared on camera, but what happened after that remains an eerie blank space. Some reports claim she might have suffered a sudden collapse, a health crisis of unknown origin. Others whispered darker theories, that she hadn't been alone at all, that someone else had been there, someone who left before the cameras caught them. None of it was confirmed, but in the silence of that empty hotel room, the unanswered questions screamed louder than any official statement. The only thing clear was that Marian had been found barely alive and was immediately rushed to Morley's Women's Hospital. Her condition was dire. Doctors worked through the night, battling to stabilise her, but even as machines kept her heart beating, her body wasn't responding. For her fans, the news came like a wave of both relief and dread. She was found, but the words critical condition hung like a curse. Outside the hospital, journalists gathered, waiting for any update. Her family arrived quietly, avoiding cameras. The once lively influencer, known for her smile, her dancing, her humour, now lay surrounded by tubes and monitors, fighting for her life in a sterile hospital room. But what truly haunted everyone wasn't just her condition. It was the mystery surrounding those missing 5 days. No phone, no communication, no trace of her movement. Had she been there the whole time? Had someone else been with her? Or had something happened before she ever reached that room? Authorities released no further details. They called it a sensitive investigation. Theories began spiraling online. Some users speculated about substance involvement, others whispered about emotional trauma, claiming her recent posts hinted at despair. Still, there was no proof, only shadows of possibilities. As her body lay in that hospital bed, barely clinging to life, one question echoed across social media, whispered through comment sections and news reports alike. What really happened inside that room? And the horrifying truth was, no one could answer. When the news broke that Marian Izaguirre had been found alive, millions of hearts sighed in relief. After days of uncertainty and fear, her fans clung to hope. The headlines called it a miracle. Reporters outside Morelia's Women's Hospital described her as stable, fighting, recovering. For a moment, it felt like maybe this story would end differently, like she would wake up, post a message and tell the world what really happened in that hotel room. But that moment never came. Inside the hospital, doctors worked endlessly to keep her alive. Family members stayed close, refusing to speak to the press, their faces pale and hollow. The medical team gave vague updates. She's in critical condition. She's being treated for complications. No one said what those complications were. No one explained how a healthy 23-year-old woman could deteriorate so fast. Then, quietly, things began to change. Within days, Marian's condition worsened. Machines kept her body alive, but her mind began slipping further away. Doctors described a progressive loss of brain activity. Behind the sterile white curtains of the intensive care unit, a silent tragedy was unfolding. The same girl whose voice had once filled millions of screens with laughter now lay in near silence. Her body frail, her pulse faint. And still, the official explanations made no sense. Authorities insisted there were no signs of violence, no evidence of foul play. They labelled her case as a medical emergency, but the vagueness only fueled suspicion. Fans flooded online forums with theories. Some whispered that she'd been poisoned. Others claimed she'd been lured to Morelia under false pretenses. Rumours spread like wildfire, each one darker than the last. On September 12, 2025, after nearly a week of silence, officials finally confirmed what everyone feared. Marian Izaguirre was gone. The statement was short, clinical, almost cold. She had suffered fatal health complications and was declared brain dead. The announcement ended with a single line about her family's decision to donate her organs, her final act of kindness in a story drenched in tragedy. The internet exploded. Comments poured in by the thousands. Some were tributes filled with heartbreak and disbelief. Others demanded answers, calling out inconsistencies in the reports. How could someone go from healthy to brain dead in less than a week? Why was there no mention of her exact cause of death? And why had investigators suddenly gone silent? The words health complications echoed like a cruel joke, too vague, too safe, too empty. For her followers, it felt like watching a light flicker and die, with no explanation for the darkness that replaced it. They scrolled through her old videos, the laughter, the dance clips, the smiles, and couldn't reconcile the woman they knew with the reality of what had happened. Some called it a tragedy, others called it a cover-up. But the one thing everyone agreed on was the same haunting question that refused to fade. What happened to Marian Izaguirre? Because somewhere between the night she disappeared and the moment she was declared gone, something terrible had happened. Something no one would name. And as the days passed, that silence began to feel less like grief and more like fear. After Marian's death, the world didn't move on. It froze. Her story wasn't over, it had just taken a darker turn. What began as a tragedy slowly transformed into a puzzle that no one could solve. Within hours, social media exploded with claims and counterclaims. Hashtags demanding justice for Marian began trending across Latin America. Her followers refused to believe the official version. How could someone as vibrant, healthy, and full of life as Marian suddenly collapse and die with no explanation beyond medical complications? Rumours began to swirl. One popular theory claimed she'd been involved in a secret relationship with a well-known figure, someone powerful enough to bury the truth. Another rumour suggested she'd been lured to Morelia for a meeting that turned into a nightmare. People pointed to strange details in her final social media posts, cryptic captions, somber expressions, and a noticeable silence in the days before her disappearance. Then came the unconfirmed reports. Several anonymous sources online claimed Marian had shown signs of physical distress before she was found. Some said she was discovered unconscious in a hotel bathtub, others that there were substances nearby that didn't belong to her. None of it was officially confirmed, but the inconsistencies in police statements only fueled the fire. Adding to the confusion was how authorities handled her case. The local police described it as a sudden health incident, but refused to release autopsy details. Marian's story had holes that no one could fill. Too many secrets, too many silences. And for those who followed her journey, the uncertainty became unbearable. They wanted justice. They wanted answers. But all they got were shadows. Shadows that seemed to grow darker with every new detail. And just when the world began to lose hope of ever knowing what really happened, something new surfaced, something that would reignite the case, spark outrage all over again, and make everyone question everything they thought they knew about Marian's final days. For weeks after Marian's death, silence filled the air, a silence so heavy it felt deliberate. For most people, the story of Flor Marian Izaguirre Pineda ended the day her death was announced. A simple headline, a tragic post shared across timelines. But for those who knew her and those who followed her, every smile, laugh, and post, the story never really ended. It only changed shape. What happened to her still lives in the corners of the internet, in the dark threads, the grainy screenshots, the old videos people refuse to delete. Every now and then, someone new discovers her story and falls down the same spiral. The unanswered questions, the eerie coincidences, the things that don't add up. And the deeper you go, the more you realize this wasn't just about one woman. And until the truth is known, her story will whisper through every unanswered question, every lost file, every moment of silence that follows her name. Because sometimes the most horrifying mysteries aren't found in the dark, they're hidden in plain sight.